And we're back with a little more base loving. Just getting all those maps out of the way with before the new update hits. And this map here is sent it to me by Latviga or Latviga? Latviga? Okay, I'm gonna mangle that pronunciation. But this map here is sort of an old school map, but ooh, too fast. Also, lots and lots of queued up commands. So many queued up commands. There's build commands, deconstruct commands, construction commands everywhere across the map. But first off, let's check out the core of the base here. We've actually got a couple of hamster wheels running here. I think these are new space dupes or dupes in training for the new space program that's going on. But if you have a look up here, you'll see there is so many stone hatches. Dear Lord. They're using that glitch where you can, well, not so much glitch, but you can have X amount of stone hatches in a room, and so long as you keep the doors open, you can just keep breeding them and breeding them and breeding them. How many is actually in there? We've got well, only 18 in that, but this room doesn't register. But there's definitely about, say, about 40 stone hatches wandering around up there. The food situation is quite a lot of omelets, as you would expect. Yeah, there's also tons of paintings and even more construction going in. But I have, actually, let's have a quick check in the priority system. Ooh, pretty solid. Few in life support toggle. Actually, you know what? Let's just get into this. So, main core base. Uh, got the plastic beds or the comfy beds in place, a couple of hamster wheels for training, and this is the main exit with the Atmosuit docks. This is a 13 dupe base, plus there's a couple more in rockets at the moment as well. Now this leads straight out, like right outside the door. You've got your industrial brick area, and it's nice and chilly, just the way we like it. But powers later, powers later. Now this is basically your standard issue industrial brick, except there's no heat recycling on the metal refineries. The petroleum out of this is actually fed petroleum, and the petroleum is actually fed right back into the petroleum generators to destroy it instead of recycling the heat. So it's one of the older school designs before the updates to the steam turbines made them more useful. Now, the reason I can tell it's one of the older designs as well is there's a petroleum boiler on this map, and it's one of the older school designs. It's the big chunky ones. I I kind of have a soft spot for the big chunky designs. This one's huge. It's about 50 tiles long, and this is the recommended length at the time. So that's like 52. Yeah, so it's about 50 tiles long, about 200 tiles in length for this. And these ones were insanely energy efficient, as in you could run these on pretty much a minor volcano, but we had no way of dealing with the minor volcanoes at the time due to temperature sensor limitations and certain other things. But yeah, I missed these. These were actually quite nice, and you can make them 2 tiles high for servicing purposes. No worries about the pipes breaking. You can just go in and fix it. But yeah, this one has been switched to work with thermium aqua tuner loaded with supercoolant. So this actually provides all the heat. It acts as the heat source. So this is perfectly sustainable to last forever, and it's really low energy consumption, really low, which makes them very useful for extracting the maximum amount of energy out of your petroleum. I was running at 5.5, and the supercoolant here that generates the heat, well, transfers the heat, I should say. Aqua tuners don't really generate heat so much as just move heat from one place to another. But basically, it's dumping the chill into this liquid box here, and then the petroleum that's exiting here actually dumps its heat in. So you actually end up with quite chill petroleum. What's that? 100 degrees or so? 100, 110 degrees. But that just means that this will never freeze that. It's just a nice way of dumping the chill somewhere useful and at the same time generating the heat you need. But yeah, been a long time since I've seen one of those. It's nice. It's kind of like a little trip down memory lane. The email also advised they couldn't keep playing the game anymore because their computer couldn't handle it. Basically, the game just basically slowed down. Yeah, it happens to all of us. Now, also we've got what appears to be a wild slickster farming going on down here because the slicksters are everywhere. They may be glum, but you know you've got enough of them, they'll still keep eating all that carbon dioxide. It's like 20 kilos of pressure in here. But yeah, the slicksters have gotten everywhere. They are just running rampant across the entire bottom of the map. Though yeah, there's some off commands around there that we'll get around to in a while. Damn, been a while since I've seen wild slicksters running rampant that much. I have no idea how many are down there, and I don't actually want to figure it out at this moment. Okay, so we've got some a little bit of filtration down here to remove all of the nasty gases from the bottom of the map, but where was that? Ah, yes, it was these designs I liked. This is a volcano tamer, but there's an emergency drill put up in here. Sometimes you used to have problems where the metals would solidify and form tiles. It could happen. So an emergency solution is to put in a robo miner. But I love the way it's tacked right on top of the metal tile, which is touching the steam turbine room, so that actually dumps chill into the brick, and that dumps chill into the robo miner. So just a very minimalist way of actually cooling something without having to add any more extra cooling loops or running pipes or anything like that. Just simple, efficient, straightforward. Love that kind of approach. Oh, you also got your electrolyzer set up over here. Let's have a quick look at the gas overlay. As you can see, works just fine though. I think a little blob escaped down there. You might want to tweak the Atmos sensor settings. That should probably be about 750. Yoink. But yeah, and then we've got your other steam turbine heat deletion. I love the way it's sandwiched in here in amongst a bunch of abyssalite. Like you literally just cored that out and stuck that in there. Very nice. Now, yeah, okay, that feeds all of that. Now, where was the next bit? Yes, there's another power brick going on over here, but I'm not quite sure what this is set up for yet. I think this is just additional power. It hasn't actually been implemented yet. There's still some construction that needs to go on. Or maybe it's being decommissioned. I can't tell. But second gold volcano up here. Actually, what's your refined metals looking like? Yeah, that's 89 tons of refined metal at cycle 872. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's usually a good sign. Now, then we get up here and we get into the rocketry section. There is still so much construction going on. So much. There's a whole bunch of construction set up here, but this is the research rocket, and it's going all the way out to quite a faraway planet at the moment. Actually, a quick check. I think the last place it went to was this one out here, the organic mass. Still some exploration going on. Then you've got your oxygen production and hydrogen production in reasonable quantities, like a normal person. No ginormous tanks. Okay, thanks. This actually makes me feel a little bit better about myself now. So generalized oxygen production. Uh, Standard issue electrolyzer, not actually built inside the tank. Like, what was it? Was it Preet who did that? Yeah, I think it was Preet in the last video. They put their electrolyzer inside the liquid oxygen tank. That's how big their liquid oxygen tank was. But anyway, yeah, then we've got of course, your solar arrays and a lot of construction queued up here. There's actually a cooling loop going back here that's cooling down this area. But you see, this is overheating. You gotta watch out with these gold amalgam ones. The liquid valves will overheat in space, and you can't actually cool them by running liquid through them. They will exchange heat with atmosphere. Oh, they're annoying. You're better off putting the liquid valve maybe in here somewhere. That would probably be safer. That's good. Yeah, that's going to keep doing that. But yeah, been a while since I've seen. This is pretty old school. Some of the designs in here. The game moves so fast though with every single update. Now let's just have a quick zoom out here and let's check out the power grid on this sucker. Taking bets. Super neat. Or stuck together with duct tape and chewing gum. Okay, that is actually pretty. Wow. 1 second. Okay, so we got. Damn. Centralized power spine core here. Then we've got radials feeding off on transformers there. More second transformer box there. So basically, you've got plug sockets set up along the way. Yes. This feels more like my sort of electrical network. Just, reasonably efficient, but not so bad enough that it makes people feel bad. Very well done, sir. Now, let's have a quick look at how are we doing on minerals. See, yep. That's how the fossil gets you. It hides above the oil biome. That's where this stuff is sneaking around the place. Oh, and one piece escaped you right there. Let's just, yeah, we'll take care of that. Okay, so the tweaking of the electrolyzers I did actually made it worse. Apologies. Turns out without the atmos sensors in there, you're going to end up with it ends up with a few blobs of hydrogen passing through. My bad. I should have maybe played around with that a bit more before I started giving out suggestions willy-nilly. Now, but one thing I do like though is there's actually a little gas pump set up here, and it's hooked up to a gas filter, and it basically filters out the hydrogen. It's basically a bit of hydrogen gets into the base. Who cares? It floats up to the top. Gas filter gets it, rips it out of the base, and you're good to go. So, not really that big deal. I like that. That explains why there's this little cloud of hydrogen up the top there. Now, this base to me feels like you've been playing this for a while. I'd say you've been playing this for several months. Just from the look of it and some of the designs used and all that. That's very rare. Most people restart so quickly. They hit a brick wall or they run into something where it wasn't optimized and they're like, okay, I'll just restart. You actually pushed through on this one. Well, that is my feeling. That's what it looks like to me on this map. I'd say you learn more on this one playthrough than most people do on about 5 or 6, because you actually just pushed through and dealt with all the issues and just dealt with the mess. You're like, nope, just keep pushing through until you get there. Thanks very much for sharing the map, Latviga, and I'll include the save game file below for anyone who wants to have a browse around. There's a fair bit to learn in this map, actually. Anyway, next up, the Hopeful Burrow, sent in to me by David. Now, this map here, It's going to look like there's a lot of empty space there. That's because a lot of mining has gone on. But let's just have a quick look at the core base before we look at some of the weirder aspects of this one. Now, this is a standard issue base. You got your beds, dining area, everything with the diamond window tiles, of course, to allow decor to go everywhere because you like the places to be absolutely glowing. Training area for new dupes, of course, locked out. They're all locked out because they're all trained up at this point. Now, this is all leftover space, but right outside the door, we're going to notice this little thing over here. This is resource storage. And I can tell it's resource storage because there's 3,762 tons of material in there. Not only that, the only way in appears to be through transport tubes, just to ensure that your dupes get there as quickly as possible. And they only have one choice to exit, and that's to go out the tube as well. That should speed up getting things built. But yeah, nice little adaptation. I want to actually try that on my next playthrough. But let's go down to the one thing that really caught my eye on this one, and it's the petroleum boiler down here. There's no volcano. This one is powered entirely by geothermal magma. And the reason I know it's entirely powered by geothermal magma is because this is how much magma has been consumed by it. Look at this. All of this magma here has been pitcher pumped out and dumped into this tank to run the petroleum boiler. That's mental. And the newer patches, there's no neutronium on the bottom of the map. There's actually abyssalite, or not abyssalite, obsidian. All of this neutronium is replaced with obsidian, meaning this is going to become far more viable in the new playthroughs. You can dig down at any point in the oil biome or the magma biome and just basically start stripping magma out, assuming you know how to handle magma and you don't mess things up. But it does mean all of this magma down here becomes a resource. Though it's interesting to think how they're going to get that from there over to there when the time comes. But do you need some petroleum? Yeah, there's a little bit of petroleum left here. A nice little trick I like here is the pitcher pump. Instead of putting your pitcher pump down and moving it around as the petroleum level goes up and down, all the petroleum actually gets dumped in here and overflows the edge into the tank. So this will always get filled up with petroleum first. Just a nice little touch. I like that. Now, next up we've got the actual oil biome itself, and you'll see there's a bunch of carbon skimmers up here, but they are no longer in use because slicksters, and more slicksters are the order of the day. You'll notice here these are all three-story high rooms, and basically there's been spaces left in here, so this is all one big room. It's exactly 96 tiles in size and can support 8 critters. You want critters? That's how you get critters. Lots of critters. Dear Lord. Now, quick zoom out here, and we'll have a look for the minerals so that we can see if there was any fossil. And there's none. In fact, not only is there no minerals, you'll notice there's no top half of the oil biome. The area above the oil biome is pretty much gone. It has been completely mined out. This whole area along the oil biome section has been completely demolished. Whole bottom half of the map. Kind of impressive. Now, that means all of the carbon dioxide is squeezed into these 3 layers here, which is why all of the slicksters are all along this axis. Now, what's the next bit? Oh, yeah. This here is the industrial brick. So you've got your traditional oil refineries that feed their steam in here into, just to give you their extra, so you can recycle the power, all your production there. But the icebox is one nice adaptation I like here. This aquatuner is actually running, well, it actually goes up and around a bit, but it's running the cooling loop through this area here. So this is the icebox for the power brick, which, first off, genius idea to run it that long. It gives you more surface area to actually draw chill out from. So that's just running through there to chill everything down. But not only is the icebox chilling that, it's also chilling this icebox here. See these doors that are engaged? So that chills down the water in this box. That water there, now we'll come back to what that does. That one actually has feeds into here and chills down this area, which provides cooling for this cool steam vent to make sure that it keeps, giving off the correct steam, or the steam keeps getting condensed. So the icebox over here is cooling the power supply and cooling the cool steam vent. But not only that, you notice there's polluted water actually rotating through here, and it goes all the way out to the base. If you actually trace this up, it goes and zigzags back and forth, all the way back and forth throughout the entire base. So one aquatuner using polluted water is cooling the power brick, and cooling a cool steam vent, and cooling the core base all simultaneously. Nice adaptation, I like that. Oh, and also of course you've got an actual medical facility set up. I have been way too lazy to actually do one of these. I think a triage cot is as far as I got. I tried to avoid all the diseases. And traditional kitchen setup as well. Next bit. You'll notice up here actually they've only cored out the space biome. That is so much empty space. But this map is just before the space program is about to kick in, so it's basically all the prep work is done. This is a completely sustainable base. Everything is just set up, good to go, rock solid. That's kind of what you want before you hit space. You want to make sure you're absolutely rock solid and you have nothing that's going to distract you, so you can just go up and deal with the space issue. Now, then, of course, there's a couple of natural gas geysers over here, and they feed into the natural gas. They're actually used as backup natural gas power. The entire bottom floor has been converted to natural gas storage because petroleum storage is covered right now. There's more than enough petroleum to go around. Just one thing I'd like to note here on this power brick is all the carbon dioxide is being pumped out here and through in radiant piping through this the water. This water is actually coming from the cool steam vent. This just actually heats up the carbon dioxide, so it's warm enough for the slicksters, and at the same time it cools down your cool water, your hot water at the same time. Just a nice little adaptation. Now, one of the things, just the thing I like about bases like this, they're very straightforward. There's no real complication here. It's okay. They've borrowed a few of my designs. It makes it easier for me to figure out. But yeah, it's basically petroleum production, petroleum storage. All the power is burned in these areas. This is the core of the power production. Sixters down here for your food, polluted water storage, cold water storage. That's a slush geyser right there. Then you've got your actually there's your oxygen production with hydrogen generators attached, mass storage, and then right here in the center you've just got your base. It's all straightforward, hooked together, nothing too fancy required, and it just works. I love it. Anyway, ooh, power. That was one thing we forgot to have a look at. Let's have a look at the power overlay. Let's see what it looks like. Zoom us out there a bit. Ooh, okay, that's twin power spines, one left, one right, connected through the middle in there, and also through here. Actually, there's another one through there, and a power spine down the bottom. Okay, a lot of power spines going off. Let's have a quick look for plug sockets. Is this running on plug sockets? Oh, there's a plug socket there, and ah, there's the plug socket for the main base, and it's actually built right up on top of that, the hardest working icebox I have ever seen. That is very nice. I never thought of using that one early on aquatuner icebox for so much, and that works really well actually. That I'm stealing that idea. Uh, yeah, big thanks to David for this map. Wait. We actually have a late entry here from Coen Visser, and it is a doozy. There actually is a full-on regolith melter built in here, but I'll cover that at the end. I just want to get through I want to get through the core of the base first, and sort of finish up on that regolith melter. So excuse me if I skimp on this base tour, Coen, but dear Lord, I just really want to cover the regolith melter. Anyway, fairly standard issue core base. Didn't bother with the fancy beds. I mean, the +1 morale. I really don't see a benefit for that at the moment, and yeah, huge morale all across the board, so it's not like they're missing out on much. Standard issue, fairly. Bathrooms are dual-sided? Wait, how does that work? Unidirectional bathrooms. So dupes come in from this side, go out the other side. Got it. Now, water tank, polluted water tank, clean water tank, industrial brick. Now, the industrial brick is powered by a lot of petroleum. There's 3 oil wells on this map, and there's a petroleum boiler, so there's a lot of petroleum power going on here. And also a bunch of natural gas. There's not too many natural gas sources on the map, but there's plenty enough to fill all of these gas canisters down here. A little bit of fanciness going on with the actual metal refinement, as in they go up here and it basically rotates through this constantly. So any new hot coolant that comes out gets dumped into the top of this container, and then it just gets cycled through here, and it only gets cycled back down into the actual metal refinery itself if it's below 200 degrees. If the coolant is above 200 degrees, it won't get cycled back into the refinery. It's just a nice way of making sure everything's nice and neat. Plus, able to make a nice little vacuum in there. I presume that was just a modification. I really do like this little design where you can just block off these areas, make vacuums, or mix the atmosphere whatever way you want. Oh, Icebox over here actually provides all the cooling for this area with built-in transformers, batteries, everything, the whole thing. I really have to use these more aggressively. Yeah, where was it? 1 oil well, 2 oil wells, 3 oil wells, meaning they can produce at least 10 kilos of crude oil per second. Also combined with a few slickers over here, just to make sure you've got all the crude oil you could ever want. That's just the basics. Transport spine right up the middle. Actually, yeah, there's the electrolyzer setup. A couple of Rodriguez electrolyzers right beside each other to give you that potential for 6 kilos of oxygen per second if you really need it. This base is hosting 25 duplicants plus 6 in rockets. Yeah, there's the 6 rockets going on up here. Let's have a quick glance up the top. Oh, storage. Do you know when you put all your stuff in one spot and it overheats and you end up with blobs of phosphorus? Oopsie. But what's going on here is, since this is so warm, what Coen's decided to do is just dump 1 kilo of water per second right here. You'll see that's actually just, 500 grams of water per second. And we're dumping it on the metal tiles here. The heat from this, this enormous amount of mass is basically turning it into steam, and then the steam is just vented into space. This is one of those ways of just disposing of lots of heat. People do it all the time. It's a very handy little trick, though. But yeah, this is the bulk storage area. Some shovels that have been completely walled in. I'm presuming they're backup shovels. Now, up here, battery box, dual solar. This is, oh, what is that? Is that water? Why is that? Okay, using a water coolant lock. It's a rather big lock. Oh, okay, go for it. Presume there was some other purpose for this water up here. Actually, you know what? I'm getting distracted. We need to get onto the regular cooker. But first, if you'll notice up here, there's all these automatic dispensers. I've been meaning to actually use these to replicate this process. But basically all they do is, it's a daisy chain where, say, this one here picks up all the regolith that gets spit out of this and dumps it into this. This jumps the regolith there. Actually, you know what? It's just coming up on time for that. Let's maybe fast forward a bit and have a look at this in action. Because these things can store so much, it basically doesn't limit the auto sweepers. The auto sweepers can pick up 1,000 kilos at a time. So basically those arms can move a ton of regolith every sweep. And because of the way it gets daisy chained along, they eventually are just moving 1 ton per sweep. And then that all gets dumped over here at the end and dumped down into this area where dupes can't access it. This is basically just a way to get an awful lot of regolith from one side of the map to the other. Normally, like, shipping rails can only handle about 20 kilos per second. That's nothing. 20 kilos compared to 1,000, it's just minuscule. So that entire area is now cleaned in all one fell swoop. Now, liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen production, and the rocketry system all the way across here. Nice. I do like me a good rocketry setup. So it's basically walled-in bunkers and all with manual switches, just because. Now, the jewel in the crown of this base is the regolith melting. Oh my god, eh? Ooh, I don't know whether we should start from the beginning or start from the end. Actually, you know what? Let's start from let's start from here. All right, so the regolith comes down here and it goes across the shipping rail. There's some leftover regolith that's in here as well that's feeding onto it. So both of these are going across here. This regolith comes all the way down here. Ignore this. Comes all the way down here, all the way down here, all the way down here. Keep going down, down here, down here, down here, down here, down here. Okay, so here's the regolith here. This is pretty much, let's say, this. We're going to start at the end then, it seems. The regolith comes down here, and it basically is superheated by the time it gets down here. This stuff is about 1400 degrees. So when it gets down here, it flows through this metal tile. These metal tiles here are in contact with this magma up here. This magma up here is set to be 1450 degrees. Now, the great thing about this is regolith melts at the exact same, was it 1460? Yeah, it's 1409.9 C is what regolith melts at. Actually, I'll have to grab a piece of regolith just to point it out 1 second. So here's some regolith on the right, and you'll see thermal, specific heat capacity is 0.200, melting point 1409. Meaning if you heat up regolith to 1409.9 degrees, well, actually you have to get about 2 degrees beyond it, it will turn into magma. Once it's turned into magma, this stuff over here, well, it actually pretty much turns almost instantly back into igneous rock. Not quite instantly. And see this magma blob here? Well, the actual regolith coming down here actually flows through that point. So it's actually cooling down the magma that's created and turning it right back into igneous rock. That igneous rock is being dumped over here and whisked away. But this is it. Regolith comes down, goes through this metal tile, gets heated up by the magma up here. This magma up here is pretty much a normal magma dropper. The magma gets dropped in here, and once it hits 1450 degrees, so before it gets to the point of actually solidifying, you don't want this to solidify in here, that door opens and it's poured out, and then fresh magma is poured in. Now the reason it's so efficient is, well, this incoming regolith basically gets kicked back out and dumped in as dumped out as igneous rock, and then we're looking at an enormous counterflow. So you'll see this regolith here. This is the regolith on the top row. Curves down to the bottom, top again. It's curving all the way through here, and if you'll notice, it's 1400 degrees by the time it exits this counterflow heat exchanger. It comes in at 222 degrees, about this, about the heat of regolith, and it leaves at 1400 degrees. So it's done a lot of heating up. However, if we check the regolith here is exiting at 1408 degrees. Well, it's entering, the counterflow at 1400 degrees, and by the time it gets to the end, it's about 1200 degrees. It's dropped a little over 200 degrees in temperature, which wouldn't make sense on the surface of it because you've basically heated up regolith from 224 to 1400 degrees. So how has the regolith stayed so hot after dumping so much heat out? Well, that's to do with the difference in thermal capacity. Or is it? Specific heat capacity. Igneous rock has a specific heat capacity of 1. Regolith only has a specific heat capacity of 0.2. Regolith has a fifth the heat capacity, which means you can heat up an enormous amount of regolith with a little bit of igneous rock. That's why you're able to preserve so much heat through here. Basically, the moment this regolith turns into magma, it's like you've suddenly created 5 times as much heat as there was beforehand. Which is kind of cool because it allows you to do some really, really, really fun stuff. Oh, by the way, the volcano that's powering it is up here. The magma flows down here, drops onto this plate. That's where all the regolith is melted. And even while it's still liquid, it's dumped down into here, which is then fed into a petroleum boiler. So this is a dual function volcano. It's doing half regolith melting. It's also doing a petroleum boiler. The petroleum boiler looks kind of small, right? No, it's just that there's a volcano in the way. So instead, the petroleum boiler is actually built down this size. This is the bottom of the petroleum boiler. So Coen actually built a petroleum boiler around a gold volcano, which also has this aquatuner in the middle of it and all of this junk built in, and a battery box in here, and a petroleum boiler which feeds down into a petroleum tank. Oh yeah, and there's the magma at the bottom of the map. So petroleum tank, petroleum boiler, gold volcano harnessing, then a regolith melter, then your volcano up here, and your counterflow. So this entire left-hand side of the map is just covered in this build. But let's follow this regolith because we're left with, Coen here had a bunch of 1200 degree regolith almost, or 1200 degree igneous rock as a waste product. Now the plan originally, I believe, was they wanted to be able to feed lots of stone hatches. So the plan was you melt the regolith, you turn it into igneous rock, you turn it into magma, which you then cool to igneous rock, and then you feed the igneous rock to your stone hatches. If you're doing 20 kilos of igneous rock per second, which this build does, you can feed 85 stone hatches, which is an awful lot of eggs or meat or whatever you want. It's basically lots and lots of food. Also, a lot of coal as well. You can basically turn that into coal, about 10 kilos of coal per second. Not bad. But then it was like, well, I better cool that stuff down. So how many steam turbines does it take to cool down 20 kilos of igneous rock per second coming out at about 1200 degrees? Well, Coen has shown us how much it takes. These are basically little boxes with steam in them. The rock passes through here on the conveyor rails and dumps in heat. The heat is then dumped into the steam turbines over here. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. 12 steam turbines. Now the top ones aren't quite maxed out. They're only pulling in about 600 watts. All the ones below that are doing 800 to 850 watts apiece. Which, there's basically a ridiculous amount of power being generated by this. This is just insane. There's more power being generated by this than it costs to run all of this, pretty much all the equipment on this side. This is a huge net power positive. Not only that, after it's finished going through all these steam turbines, it still comes out at 500 degrees. That's right, you're running all this excess power from this, and you're still getting 500 degree igneous rock out. So, in an attempt to actually cool it even further, it's dumped in through this weird looking device. Now, this took me a minute or two to figure out. Turns out this is hooked up to this. These are basically puffs. Whole bunches of off-gassing polluted water. 11 tiles, I think that's what they said. Let's see. 13 tiles? 13 tiles or 11 tiles. I can't remember. It was in the mail. Actually, one second. Yes, it's 13 full tiles of polluted water off-gassing will feed a puffed. But what has that to do with hot igneous rock? Well, they drop slime, and that slime is then dumped onto these conveyor rails. Yeah, actually, there's a piece there right now. And then that is sent in here. It goes across these rails, and it basically rotates through here, going round and round in circles. And the temperature in here is above 125 degrees. So what happens is the slime comes in here, starts rotating around. Eventually it gets so hot it actually cooks into dirt. This is a dirt cooker. Oop, there's a piece right there. So basically eventually it absorbed enough heat to turn into dirt. Once it turned into dirt, it actually forms a tile, which the robo miners instantly zap, which point it falls down. This picks it up, dumps it onto the conveyor rail, good to go. So that gets dumped across here, and actually it gets dumped over here and gets sent up here for storage. Basically, it's just a dirt cooker, so you could have more dirt for cooking sleet wheat and stuff like that. All powered by a bunch of puffs, which are all over here. Kind of a nice little system. But even that's not going to cool down that igneous rock. In fact, that's not going to cool down the igneous rock much at all. So that igneous rock, same igneous rock that is basically created from regolith, goes all the way up here and then runs directly through a couple of steam turbine rooms. Instead of actually trying to meter it or control it at this point, just dumped straight in. And that's, yeah, 3 flat out steam turbines for another 8, 16, 24. Yeah, it's 22.5 kilowatts of power just being generated by this constantly. They just don't stop. Then that igneous rock keeps going, and it's now down to 300 degrees. Oopsie, okay, so we'll put it through another couple of steam turbines. So it goes through here. These ones are not quite maxed out. They're, what's that one doing? That one, idle, heat production. You know what? Let me have a quick pause. That one's doing 850 watts. How is that one not? Oh, it's too hot. There's actually a little, oh, yeah, they advised me they're having a little bit of a overheating issue on one of them. Yeah, never mind. But after it gets through those, it comes out at 287 degrees, which is still just a little bit too hot. So they're working around this, which is actually providing a bunch of steam turbine cooling for this. They come all the way down here and across, and it goes through these 3 steam turbines as well. And at last, we're getting down to not maxing out the steam turbines constantly. They're actually only putting out, what's this one putting out? 395 watts. Only about 400 watts a piece out of these suckers. A little bit less. Yeah, say about 400 on average. So that's about 1.2 kilowatts of constant power coming out of those 3. Then the igneous rock eventually leaves there. It's down to, where is it? 140 degrees, 150. Say 150 degrees. You've got 150 degree igneous rock down from almost 1200. Then it goes down here and goes into this cooling spiral. I don't know what you call it. It's basically a big pile of water. It's cooled down by these aqua tuners up the top here. And yeah, that's actually a cool spiral. I don't know actually what kind of pattern you'd call that, but yeah, it looks almost like a cross or a bird. But yeah, that cools down the water. The water basically has the igneous rock going through it, and by the time the igneous rock is finished, it comes out about 20 degrees. So now you have a constant pile of igneous rock that you can use to feed, well, 80 plus stone hatches. You're also generating, say, what was it? That's 1.2 kilowatts. Then over here we got about another 1.6 kilowatts. 8, 16, 24. So that's 2.4 kilowatts, actually 2.5. Then we come down here and we're looking at another 8, 16. You know what? It just generates an enormous amount of power, right? Let's just say that's a lot of power. It also cooks dirt and feeds a bunch of hatches and also boils petroleum. So this entire thing, actually, give me a shovel for a second. So this thing right about here, from top to down to about here. Well, okay, that's about as wide as it goes here. This whole thing here basically provides loads of power, boils petroleum, gives enough food for 80 stone hatches, cooks dirt, and provides all the power you're ever going to need. Uh, my hat is off to you, Coen. That is an amazing design, and I love the way you worked around the gold volcanoes that got in the way. There's a slush geyser in here that's actually pouring cooling into this section to help cool down the last of those. Just beautiful, beautiful. So that will be the final map. That will be the final map of the Mark III base tours. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful. Love it, love it. Oh, wait a second, wait a second. We haven't actually done the power grid yet. Power overlay. Okay. Neat, but not so neat I feel bad. Yeah, yeah, no, that's perfect. You see that there? That makes me feel right at home. There was like a little bit of wires crisscrossing. Oh, and yeah, the power grid splits right about here. These are actually two separate power grids. So the bottom half of the base runs on this power grid, and it seems to feed most of the core base area. And then the top half is powered entirely by steam turbines, amazingly enough. Lots and lots of steam turbines and solar. So technically renewables, because it's living off regolith, a volcano, steam turbines, and solar. Very impressive base. Very impressive. Anyway, a big thanks to David, Latviga, and Coen for the maps provided. They were so much fun to look around. I'm not going to lie, I do like perving on other people's bases and stealing their designs if at all possible. And there's some really good ideas in here, though I have no idea how I get this regolith smelter running. I just even with access to this map and this base and everything in it, yeah. Just to show you, here's a quick look at the automation overlay. Yeah, doable. I know it's just that's there's also some built-in redundancy over here. Okay, yeah. You know what? Too much, too much. But I'd love to actually give them a go one time. They're so that's so powerful. It's food, it's power, and everything all in one. Anyway, uh, thanks again to everyone for the map submitted. If you have any more maps from Mark III, I'm sure I can uninstall the. I can opt out of the beta test that's going on and always do a few more tours if needs be. But if you do send them in, make sure to include your YouTube handle. I don't like to use people's real names, so I'm using people's first names from their emails addresses unless they actually sent me in their YouTube handle. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed these base tours as much as I did, and good luck.